For as long as humanity has existed, we have searched for the meaning of our own origins. We have gazed at the night sky with questions that refuse to fade. Who are we? Where did we truly come from? And why does the ancient world seem filled with architecture, symbols, and stories that speak of knowledge far beyond what early humans should have possessed? These questions do not belong only to scholars or scientists. They belong to everyone who has ever looked at the ruins of the past and felt a strange echo calling from a time before recorded history. Across continents and oceans, from the sands of Egypt to the high plains of Peru and the forgotten hills of Turkey, ancient structures rise with a precision that defies the tools of their age. They align with the stars. They mirror constellations. They challenge the limits of what we believe early civilizations could do. Every stone seems placed with intention. Every carving whispers a message that has survived thousands of years. Some call it coincidence. Others call it mythology. Yet the deeper we look, the more difficult it becomes to dismiss the possibility that something else was at work. These mysteries pull us toward a single idea, a troubling idea. An idea so bold that it has split historians, inspired scientists, and fascinated millions. What if humanity was never alone in its earliest days? What if our ancestors witnessed visitors from the sky? And what if those visitors left behind traces of their presence, hidden in plain sight across the ancient world? Tonight, you and I will walk through deserts, mountains, and forgotten temples. We will follow the strange patterns that stretch across continents. We will examine stones carved with impossible precision, and myths that speak of gods descending from the heavens. And as each layer is peeled back, we will move closer to a question that humanity has asked for millennia. A question that may reshape our understanding of who we are. Could the ancient world be evidence of contact with an intelligence far beyond Earth? Since the beginning of recorded time, humans have stood in awe of the world that existed long before them. Every generation has uncovered fragments of civilizations that rose and fell long before the tools of modern science existed. These discoveries raised questions that refused to stay buried. Why did early humans suddenly leap from simple stone tools to monumental architecture? Why do myths from distant parts of the world echo the same pattern of gods descending from the sky, granting knowledge and power to mortals? And why do the oldest structures on Earth appear as if they were built with an understanding of mathematics and astronomy that should not have been possible for their era? To understand how the ancient aliens hypothesis emerged, we must first return to a time when archaeology was just beginning to uncover immense structures hidden beneath sand and soil. Explorers believed they were uncovering remnants of ordinary human societies. Instead, they found monuments so precise and so deliberately constructed that they seemed to belong to a different category of intelligence altogether. The Great Pyramid of Giza was aligned to true north, with an accuracy that modern compasses struggled to replicate. The stones weighed several tons each and were shaped with edges so straight that razor blades could not slide between them. Across the world in Mesoamerica, pyramids rose with similar characteristics and mirrored constellations visible hundreds of miles away. Civilizations that never communicated somehow built structures that followed the same celestial logic. As more clues surfaced, researchers realized they were not dealing with random coincidences. They were confronting a pattern that spanned continents and millennia. Early humans, who were supposed to be scattered and isolated, somehow shared architectural principles, religious stories, and symbols describing beings descending from the heavens. These connections did not align with the accepted timeline of human development. The official narrative insisted that early societies had limited knowledge and primitive tools, yet the evidence suggested something more advanced had intervened, or at least influenced their trajectory. Many scholars attempted to explain these anomalies using natural evolution of knowledge. They claimed ancient people simply observed the stars, slowly improved their construction techniques, and gradually built complex monuments. But the precision of these structures far exceeded the reasonable expectations of early societies. Some monuments were so perfectly aligned with astronomical events that a small miscalculation would have ruined the entire design. Others required moving stones, weighing more than modern cranes can lift. A few sites appeared to be older than agriculture itself, disrupting the entire understanding of human history. These contradictions sparked a radical question. What if the earliest humans were guided by an intelligence that did not originate on Earth? What if the beings described as gods, sky visitors, or shining teachers in ancient myths were not symbolic at all, but literal encounters with extraterrestrial entities? Suddenly, stories once dismissed as fiction took on new meaning. Descriptions of flying chariots, beams of light, fiery wheels, and glowing beings resembled modern interpretations of aircraft and advanced technology. The more carefully we examined ancient texts, the more they resembled historical records of encounters rather than metaphors. The ancient aliens hypothesis gained momentum because it offered a single explanation for a vast collection of mysteries. It suggested that early humans were either visited, inspired, or possibly even genetically influenced by advanced extraterrestrial civilizations. These visitors may have provided knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. They may have introduced cultural systems that later evolved into organized religions. They may have triggered sudden leaps in human intelligence that scientists still struggle to explain. However, this hypothesis was not created out of fantasy. It emerged from the frustration of explorers and historians who could no longer force the ancient world to fit neatly into the conventional timeline. Too many anomalies remained unresolved. The jump between primitive hunter-gatherers and the builders of megalithic structures was too sudden. Myths from distant continents were too similar. The precision of ancient engineering was too perfect. As the 20th century progressed, new discoveries pushed the question even further. Ground-penetrating radar revealed civilizations buried completely underground with no known predecessors. Satellite imagery exposed geometric alignments across landscapes that could only be appreciated from high above the Earth. Archaeologists found tools and artifacts that seemed thousands of years ahead of their time. The more scientists uncovered, the more the accepted narrative began to fracture. Still, the ancient aliens hypothesis does not claim to rewrite history entirely. It does not erase human ingenuity or diminish the achievements of early societies. Instead, it suggests that our ancestors may have received guidance from a source beyond their world. It proposes that humanity's rapid advancement was not an accident, but part of a much larger interaction. The ancient world begins to look less like isolated civilizations and more like chapters of a coordinated story written across the planet. This is why the question refuses to fade. It is not born from imagination, but from the weight of evidence that should not exist. It is supported by monuments that defy understanding, stories that match across continents, and artifacts that seem misplaced in time. And as researchers continue to uncover more, the theory that our ancestors encountered visitors from beyond the sky becomes harder to dismiss. In this journey, we will follow these clues from desert sands to mountaintop temples. We will examine monuments too precise for their era, and stories too detailed to be mere legends. We will trace a line connecting ancient Egypt, the Andean Plateau, Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, and the mysterious hills of Anatolia. Each location contributes a piece of a puzzle. Each culture preserves a fragment of a memory, and when brought together, they form a picture of a world shaped by forces that modern science is only beginning to consider. The question is no longer whether ancient structures or myths are unusual. The question is why they are unusual in the same way across the entire planet. As we continue into the next chapter, we will begin to examine the first major clue left behind by our ancestors: the colossal monuments that rise from the sand and stone of ancient civilizations. Structures so advanced and so enigmatic that they continue to challenge our understanding of the past. Across every corner of the ancient world, one symbol rises above the rest: the pyramid. It appears in desert sands, deep jungles, mountain valleys, and forgotten plains. Civilizations separated by oceans and thousands of years chose the same structure without any known contact between them. The existence of pyramids on multiple continents is one of the most compelling clues in the ancient aliens discussion, because it challenges the assumption that human development occurred in complete isolation. The more carefully we examine these structures, the more we realize that they form a global pattern too consistent to be coincidence. If we begin in Egypt, the sheer scale of the Great Pyramid of Giza immediately forces us to reconsider what ancient humans were capable of. The monument stands with a precision unmatched by many modern builders. Its base is almost perfectly square. Its sides are aligned with true north with an accuracy that seems impossible without advanced instruments. The stones, each weighing several tons, were cut and placed with such perfection that the joints are barely visible. This level of engineering suggests knowledge far beyond what is expected from a civilization of its time. Some researchers point out that the layout of the three main pyramids mirrors the belt of the Orion constellation. This implies not only astronomical awareness, but deliberate intention to connect the structure with the heavens. When we travel across the Atlantic to the ancient Mayan and Aztec world, the pattern continues. The Pyramid of the Sun in Teotihuacan rises with similar geometric precision. The city's layout is aligned with astronomical events, and the pyramid itself forms part of a complex that seems to represent a cosmic map. Its builders understood the movement of the stars and used this knowledge to shape their monuments. The Kukulkan Pyramid at Chichen Itza demonstrates a mastery of mathematics and solar alignment. During the equinoxes, the sun casts a shadow that creates the illusion of a serpent descending the stairs. This phenomenon requires extremely accurate calculations and suggests a deep connection between architecture and celestial cycles. Farther south, in the Andean region of Peru, we encounter pyramids and stepped structures built with stones that fit together without mortar. Some stones have up to 12 sides and match so perfectly that even a blade cannot slip between them. The precision is so advanced that the structures have withstood earthquakes for centuries. These engineering feats raise questions about how the builders acquired such knowledge. The stones are so large that modern equipment would struggle to move them. The techniques used remain unknown despite years of study. Even more surprising are the pyramids discovered in China. Hidden under layers of soil and vegetation, these pyramids stretch across the Shaanxi province. Many were deliberately concealed, suggesting that their builders did not want them easily found. Their orientation and construction methods share similarities with pyramids in other parts of the world. Yet there is no historical record of cultural exchange that could explain these parallels. These structures stand as silent witnesses to a shared architectural language that crosses all boundaries. Some researchers argue that pyramids are simply the strongest shape for building tall structures with primitive tools. However, this explanation fails to account for the astronomical alignments, mathematical precision, and symbolic patterns found across multiple civilizations. These similarities suggest a common source of knowledge or influence. There is no evidence that these societies communicated with each other. Still, they produced architectural marvels that follow the same cosmic logic. It is possible that the pyramid served as more than a building. It may have been a message, a map, or a connection between Earth and the sky. The more we examine these structures, the more questions arise. How did ancient Egyptians cut and transport stones weighing dozens of tons with tools made of copper? How did the builders of Teotihuacan understand advanced geometric ratios? Why did the Chinese pyramids align with celestial markers in the same way as those in Egypt and Mesoamerica? No single civilization holds all the answers. Instead, each one offers a fragment of a larger story. One possible interpretation is that ancient societies received knowledge from a common external source. This source could have been a highly advanced civilization that visited Earth in the distant past. They may have shared techniques for construction, astronomy, and geometry. These teachings could have been passed down through generations and mythologized as gifts from gods or sky beings. If this were true, the global presence of pyramids would make sense. They would be the physical evidence of an ancient interaction between humanity and a more advanced intelligence. Another possibility is that the knowledge was not directly given, but inspired. Early humans might have seen advanced craft or witnessed phenomena they could not explain. In attempting to recreate these experiences, they built monuments that reflected the shape or purpose of what they observed. Some pyramids resemble landing platforms or energy conduits when viewed from above. Others form complex geometric patterns visible only from the sky. These features support the idea that the builders expected someone or something to view their creations from high above the earth. The alignment of pyramids with star constellations further supports the theory that these structures were meant to communicate with the heavens. Many ancient cultures believed their gods resided among the stars. If these gods were actually visitors from another world, the pyramids may have served as markers or signals. A global network of monuments could guide travelers or memorialize past encounters. The consistency of pyramid geometry across continents strengthens the possibility that humanity was influenced by a single source operating across multiple civilizations. Some historians attempt to dismiss these ideas by attributing ancient achievements to extraordinary human ingenuity. While human creativity is undeniable, the scale of the global pyramid phenomenon raises questions that conventional explanations struggle to answer. The identical mathematical ratios, precise celestial alignments, and architectural parallels cannot be easily dismissed. These structures represent more than cultural expression. They form a pattern that suggests shared knowledge beyond geographic and temporal boundaries. As researchers continue to explore ancient sites using modern technology, new discoveries emerge. Satellite imaging reveals geometric patterns that connect pyramids across continents. Ground investigations uncover hidden chambers and underground tunnels, suggesting the structures had advanced internal designs. Each discovery adds another layer of complexity, reinforcing the idea that pyramids were not simple tombs or ceremonial sites. They were part of a global system built by civilizations that understood the earth and sky in ways modern science is still struggling to comprehend. The global nature of the pyramid phenomenon serves as a foundation for the ancient aliens hypothesis. It raises the possibility that humanity's earliest monumental architecture was not the result of independent development, but part of a coordinated influence. The consistency of style, purpose, and cosmic alignment points toward a shared origin that transcends geography. Whether these structures were taught, inspired, or influenced by extraterrestrial visitors, they represent a clear pattern that cannot be ignored. In the next part of this journey, we will shift focus from towering pyramids to a different kind of ancient mystery. A mystery etched into the surface of the earth itself. Unlike the pyramids, these designs were not built to be touched or walked upon. They were meant to be seen from the sky. Their presence challenges our understanding of ancient capabilities and raises a profound question. Who were these messages for? In the dry expanse of the Peruvian desert lies one of the most puzzling achievements of the ancient world. Stretching across miles of arid land, the Nazca lines form thousands of geometric shapes, animals, humanoid figures, and enormous, perfectly straight lines that cut across the desert floor with stunning accuracy. They have survived for more than 1,000 years due to the region's stillness and lack of rain. Yet their survival is not the mystery that has captured the attention of researchers. The real mystery is how and why they were created. When viewed from the ground, the lines appear as simple pathways or shallow furrows in the soil. But from the sky, they reveal immense and precise figures that could only be fully appreciated from high above the earth. The size and precision of the figures make them particularly striking. Some lines stretch for kilometers without deviating by more than a few degrees. Others form perfect geometric shapes that would require advanced surveying tools to execute with such accuracy. The hummingbird, spider, monkey, and other famous figures are drawn with smooth curves and consistent proportions. These designs suggest a level of planning that goes far beyond what would be expected from an early civilization without aerial capabilities. The Nazca people did not possess balloons, aircraft, or any known method to view their work from above. Yet their creations seem intended for an observer positioned high in the sky. Researchers have long debated how these lines were made with such perfection. Some propose that the Nazca people used simple cords and stakes to create straight lines and curves. Others argue that this explanation fails to account for the immense scale and accuracy of the designs. The desert's terrain is uneven and difficult to navigate. Creating shapes that retain consistent proportions across hundreds of meters would require advanced mathematical understanding and careful coordination. The builders would have needed to visualize the entire design without ever seeing it from above. This raises the question of whether the lines were created with the help of knowledge passed down from an advanced source. The purpose of the Nazca Lines is even more mysterious. There are no signs of large gatherings, ceremonial sites, or habitation near many of the designs. Some scholars believe the lines were created as offerings to gods residing in the sky. Others suggest they functioned as astronomical calendars or maps of celestial cycles. However, many of the lines do not align with significant solar or lunar events. Instead, they form long, straight corridors that extend across valleys and hills regardless of topography. These paths are too straight and too long to be explained by simple ritualistic walking routes. Some lines form perfect runways when viewed from above, leading researchers to question whether they served as symbolic landing paths or signals. The more we analyze the Nazca Lines, the more they resemble messages rather than mere artwork. Many of the animal figures correspond to constellations visible in the ancient night sky. Some shapes appear to mark underground water sources, suggesting knowledge of natural systems far beneath the surface. Yet the combination of celestial and terrestrial symbolism hints at a dual purpose. The designs could have been meant to represent the world below and the world above, connecting the Earth to the sky in a symbolic communication system. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Nazca Lines is the presence of long, perfectly straight pathways that intersect with major figures. These lines stretch across the desert in ways that would challenge modern surveyors. Their precision suggests that those who created them possessed an understanding of geometry similar to that found in other advanced ancient cultures. When combined with the sky-oriented nature of the designs, this raises a question central to the ancient aliens hypothesis. Were the Nazca Lines messages intended for beings who could observe them from the sky? Imagine a craft flying over the barren landscape thousands of years ago. What would the observers see? They would witness animals, geometric shapes, and pathways stretching endlessly across the desert floor. These symbols would be invisible from the ground, but obvious from above. If an advanced civilization had visited Earth in ancient times, the Nazca Lines would have served as clear visual signals. Their immense scale and precise construction make them ideal for communication with an aerial observer. Another possibility is that the lines mark locations of energy or magnetic significance. Some researchers have discovered unusual electromagnetic readings in areas where the figures intersect. Others have noted that the layout resembles patterns found in ancient Chinese and Egyptian design principles. This could indicate shared knowledge or influence across civilizations that had no known contact. If these patterns reflect a deeper understanding of Earth's energy grid, the Nazca people may have been working with knowledge passed down from an earlier, advanced source. The humanoid figure known as the astronaut adds another level of mystery. Carved into the side of a hill, it appears to depict a human-like figure raising one arm upward. Its head is disproportionately large and features round eyes that resemble the typical description of extraterrestrial beings in modern accounts. While some researchers claim it represents a shaman or deity, others argue that the figure's appearance is too distinct and too unlike other Nazca art to fit comfortably within their known cultural style. The astronaut stands alone, facing outward as if acknowledging something or someone above. Throughout the desert, there are signs that the Nazca people underwent sudden changes in cultural expression. Their pottery evolved rapidly. Their agricultural practices shifted in ways that suggest external influence. Their rituals became increasingly sky-focused. These changes align with the period when many of the lines were created. It is as though something prompted the Nazca to look upward and reshape their world in response to what they believed existed above them. For a society with no known writing system, the lines may have served as their most significant form of communication. Critics argue that the Nazca lines could have been created for religious processions or agricultural rituals. While it is possible that some lines served ceremonial purposes, these explanations do not address the immense scale, precision, and aerial visibility of the designs. If the lines were meant only for human eyes, their creators would not have needed to construct them across such vast distances. The decision to carve enormous figures that can only be fully seen from the sky suggests a purpose far beyond earthly ritual. Modern technology has deepened the mystery rather than solved it. High-resolution satellite images reveal patterns not visible from ground level, including hidden shapes and newly discovered lines that extend the known network. These new findings show that the Nazca lines are even more complex and interlinked than previously believed. They form a sprawling system that resembles a coded message or a map. The more we uncover, the clearer it becomes that the builders were communicating through symbols designed to transcend their time and culture. The Nazca lines remind us that ancient civilizations were not merely simple societies struggling to survive. They were observers of the world and the sky. They were capable of creating monumental works that continue to challenge our understanding of their purpose and abilities. The lines force us to consider whether the Nazca people received knowledge from an advanced source or witnessed events that shaped their interpretation of the heavens. Their work remains one of the most compelling pieces of evidence pointing toward ancient contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. As we continue this journey, we will leave the deserts of Peru and travel to a place even older and more mysterious. A place that challenges the entire timeline of human development. A place buried for thousands of years before modern archaeologists uncovered its secrets. In the next chapter, we will explore the story of Göbekli Tepe, a site that rewrites the origins of civilization and raises profound questions about who built it and why. High on the hills of southeastern Turkey lies a site that has forced historians, archaeologists, and researchers to reevaluate everything they believed about the dawn of civilization. Göbekli Tepe is unlike any ancient monument known to humanity. It predates Stonehenge by thousands of years. It predates the pyramids by an even wider margin. It stands as a contradiction to everything we thought we understood about the capabilities of early humans. According to the accepted timeline, humans at that period were nomadic hunter-gatherers who lived in small bands and spent their days searching for food. They were not supposed to build massive temples. They were not supposed to carve multi-ton pillars. They were not supposed to create complex symbols or engineer monumental architecture. Yet Göbekli Tepe exists. The site consists of enormous T-shaped stone pillars arranged in circular formations. Some pillars reach heights of 6 meters and weigh as much as 10 tons. They were carved from limestone using tools that theoretically should not have been capable of shaping such massive blocks with smooth surfaces and defined edges. Each pillar is decorated with detailed reliefs of animals, abstract shapes, and symbols that researchers are still struggling to decode. The carvings exhibit artistic sophistication that implies a long tradition of craftsmanship. Yet Göbekli Tepe appears so early in human history that no preceding civilization is known to have produced anything similar. The age of the site is one of its most astonishing features. Carbon dating places it at around 12,000 years old. This means it was built near the end of the last ice age. At that time, glaciers still covered large parts of the Earth, and agriculture had barely begun. According to mainstream history, humans living during that period should have lacked the organizational structure required to construct monumental architecture. They should not have had the manpower, the tools, or the resources to carve and transport multi-ton pillars. Göbekli Tepe forces us to confront the possibility that either our timeline is flawed or an unknown influence pushed early humans far beyond their expected capabilities. To understand how shocking Göbekli Tepe is to the archaeological community, imagine hunter-gatherers suddenly deciding to coordinate hundreds of workers for massive construction projects. These early people would have needed a stable food supply, specialized labor, and advanced planning. Yet no evidence of permanent settlements exists near the oldest parts of the site. There are no signs of housing, domestic structures, or typical village life. This suggests that Göbekli Tepe was not a place where people lived. It was a place where people gathered for a purpose far beyond daily survival. It was a deliberate project, a structure of meaning rather than necessity. Something motivated these early humans to build a monument that defied their technological level. The carvings on the pillars add another layer of mystery. They depict animals that do not all belong to the region at the same time. They include foxes, snakes, wild boars, birds, and even abstract humanoid forms. Some symbols appear repeatedly in specific combinations, suggesting a symbolic language. One carving shows a vulture holding what looks like a circular object over a human figure. Some researchers interpret this as a representation of the sky interacting with humanity. Others suggest it is an early attempt to record a cosmic event. The motif of beings descending from above is found in myths across the world. Göbekli Tepe may contain the earliest physical representation of this idea. This site does not stand alone in its strangeness. It connects directly to the global pattern we have already seen in the pyramids and the Nazca lines. Each of these ancient structures shows signs of advanced astronomical knowledge, precise engineering, and a desire to connect Earth with the sky. Göbekli Tepe fits perfectly into this pattern. Its layout appears to reflect celestial alignments. Some researchers claim that the pillars were arranged to mirror specific constellations visible during the era of its construction. If this is true, then the builders possessed astronomical awareness far beyond what is assumed for their time. One of the most baffling aspects of Göbekli Tepe is the fact that the site was intentionally buried. Sometime after centuries of use, its builders covered the structures with dirt and stone. They did not collapse. They did not erode naturally. Their creators deliberately entombed them. This raises profound questions. Why would a society invest enormous effort to build such a monument, only to bury it later? What purpose did the burial serve? Did they intend to hide the site from future generations? Or were they protecting something that no longer belonged in the world? The intentional burial is often overlooked, yet it may be the key to understanding Göbekli Tepe. If the builders received knowledge from an external source, possibly an advanced civilization or extraterrestrial visitors, they might have viewed the site as a sacred place of contact. When the visitors left, or the era of communication ended, the builders could have chosen to conceal the evidence. They may have feared the knowledge would be misused. They may have believed the world needed to forget what happened at the site. This idea aligns with myths around the world in which gods depart and instruct their followers to protect sacred knowledge. Göbekli Tepe also challenges our assumptions about cultural development. The site appears fully formed from its earliest layers. There is no gradual progression of architectural skill, no earlier version or primitive prototype. The builders did not evolve their techniques over centuries. Instead, they suddenly possessed the ability to create sophisticated monuments. This sudden leap mirrors the unexplained jumps seen in other ancient cultures. It is as if knowledge arrived fully developed rather than evolving slowly. This pattern strengthens the argument that influences beyond human development played a role. Some skeptics argue that Göbekli Tepe could have been built by small groups using simple methods over long periods of time. While this is theoretically possible, it does not explain the coordinated design, the uniform artistic style, or the shared symbolic language across multiple circles. It also fails to address the lack of a supporting settlement. Large construction projects require food, shelter, and social structure. The absence of these elements contradicts the idea that the site was built solely through human effort. Something motivated and guided the builders in ways that do not match the known behavior of early societies. Göbekli Tepe stands as a message from a time before written language. Its pillars rise like ancient beacons. Its symbols hint at a worldview that connected the earth to the heavens. Its sudden appearance and intentional burial challenge the timeline of civilization. When placed alongside the pyramids and the Nazca lines, Göbekli Tepe forms another point in a global pattern. A pattern suggesting that humanity's earliest monuments were not isolated achievements, but part of a long-forgotten interaction with a more advanced intelligence. As we continue this journey, we will look beyond isolated sites and explore the larger network of ancient symbols and stories. In the next part, we will examine how civilizations separated by oceans and centuries share myths, designs, and motifs that appear connected. These parallels reveal a hidden thread linking cultures that should have had no contact, yet somehow preserved the same memories of beings who came from the sky. Göbekli Tepe invites us deeper into the heart of the ancient world. It encourages us to consider not only how these people lifted stones weighing many tons, but also why they would choose to do so. When dealing with ancient mysteries, it is easy to be distracted by the sheer scale of construction. Yet behind every stone, there is purpose. Behind every pattern, there is intention. Civilizations do not build monuments of such size unless they are trying to communicate something important. So we must ask ourselves what exactly Göbekli Tepe was trying to say, and why its builders chose to hide it beneath layers of earth as if they feared the knowledge it contained might fall into the wrong hands. One of the most striking features of Göbekli Tepe is its orientation toward the sky. The arrangement of the pillars appears to echo specific regions of the night heavens. Researchers have suggested alignments with constellations that were significant to ancient groups. Some of these interpretations have been challenged, while others have gained momentum thanks to detailed astronomical modeling. As these studies grow more sophisticated, an unsettling pattern emerges. Many of the alignments at Göbekli Tepe match celestial positions that would have held significance long before mainstream timelines say humans could track the heavens with such precision. This leads us to a deeper question. Why were these early people so focused on the sky? The stars were not simply decoration for them. They were guides. They were teachers. They were sources of power and prophecy. In many cultures across the world, the gods came from the sky. Light descended from above. Knowledge arrived like fire falling from heaven. When we place Göbekli Tepe into this global pattern, the idea becomes difficult to ignore. The builders may have been recording something they witnessed, something exceptional, something that arrived from the heavens and changed their understanding of the world. Another hallmark of Göbekli Tepe is its collection of carved animal figures. Vultures dominate many of the pillars, and their presence offers more than artistic expression. In several ancient cultures, vultures were seen as mediators between life and death. They represented journeys beyond the physical realm. If the people of Göbekli Tepe saw these birds as symbols of transformation or contact with otherworldly beings, then the carvings might have been more than simple depictions. They might have been codified messages about an encounter that reshaped their beliefs. The level of anatomical detail in these carvings is astonishing for a society that supposedly had no writing system or complex tools. Musculature, feathers, and beaks are rendered with a sophistication that rivals much later art. These were not amateurs experimenting with stone. They were skilled sculptors, preserving traditions or events they did not want to lose. The consistency of their techniques across multiple structures suggests a shared purpose, and perhaps a centralized group of master builders or artists. How such specialization existed more than 11,000 years ago is another question that continues to puzzle archaeologists. Göbekli Tepe also holds a symbolic language, quote, that may represent ideas far more complex than simple scenes. Some researchers believe the carvings depict celestial cycles or even catastrophic events remembered in mythology. One pillar, often discussed, features a vulture holding what appears to be a sphere. Some interpret this as a depiction of a falling object from the sky. If this interpretation holds any truth, then the site might be a record of a cosmic event witnessed by ancient people. A comet or meteor impact could have shaped their worldview and inspired monumental construction. Yet others argue that this imagery points to something more intentional than natural disaster. Some see in this sphere a representation of a visitor descending from above, a being seen as divine, a being who brought knowledge that accelerated human development. The intentional burial of Göbekli Tepe complicates every interpretation. The site was not abandoned. It was carefully filled and sealed. The builders made sure it would not crumble under the forces of nature. They buried it as if they wished to preserve it for a future age, or to hide it from those who might misuse its knowledge. This act of deliberate concealment suggests reverence and fear. Reverence for whatever truth the site held. Fear of what might happen if that truth were left exposed. When viewed in a wider context, Göbekli Tepe becomes part of a global tapestry of ancient sites that seem too advanced for their time, yet deeply connected to the sky. As we continue our journey, we will turn our focus toward other civilizations that emerged much later. Civilizations that displayed a sudden rise in architecture, mathematics, and astronomy. Civilizations that also looked to the heavens for guidance. By comparing them to Göbekli Tepe, we can begin to see repeating patterns. Patterns that raise the possibility that humanity's earliest chapters may be far more complex than the conventional timeline suggests. As we move forward from Göbekli Tepe, our journey takes us to ancient Egypt. Few civilizations command the same sense of awe and mystery. Egypt, stands as one of humanity's greatest achievements, yet it also remains one of its deepest puzzles. The monuments that rise from the desert plateau are not only symbols of power, but also expressions of knowledge that appear far beyond their time. From the precision of the Great Pyramid to the alignment of temples with celestial events, Egypt forces us to confront the possibility that its builders possessed an understanding that does not match the conventional story of human advancement. The Great Pyramid at Giza is the most iconic example of this challenge. Its construction remains one of the most debated feats in human history. The accuracy of its orientation is astonishing. The sides align to true north with a degree of precision that even modern engineers admire. Its base is nearly perfectly level. The blocks that form its structure weigh several tons and were transported across significant distances. These achievements suggest a mastery of engineering that should have taken many millennia to develop. Yet it appears suddenly, as if the knowledge underlying its construction was inherited rather than gradually discovered. The interior layout of the Great Pyramid raises additional questions. The narrow shafts cut into the stone point directly toward specific stars. These are not random choices, but deliberate alignments. Many scholars believe these shafts were symbolic pathways for the pharaoh's soul. However, they also reflect a deep awareness of stellar movements. Ancient Egyptians tracked the sky with extraordinary accuracy. Their entire calendar and religious life depended on the heliacal rising of Sirius. This combination of astronomy and architecture suggests a society that understood celestial cycles far better than expected for its era. The precision of Egyptian stonework adds more complexity. Even with modern tools, it is difficult to replicate the straightness and smoothness found on many granite surfaces within temples and tombs. Some blocks bear cuts that seem to reflect the use of advanced techniques. Traditional explanations suggest copper tools and sand abrasion. While these methods can shape stone, they struggle to account for the incredible uniformity and speed implied by the scale of construction. If tens of thousands of laborers carved every block by hand, then the time required would stretch beyond what archaeological timelines allow. This discrepancy encourages some to wonder whether the Egyptians benefited from knowledge or tools that have not survived. Mythology provides another layer to this puzzle. Egyptian texts frequently describe gods descending from the sky. They speak of beings who brought order to chaos and taught humanity the arts of civilization. Osiris, Thoth, and Horus are portrayed as instructors rather than distant deities. They provide agriculture, astronomy, and writing. These stories are often dismissed as symbolic, yet they resemble traditions found in other ancient cultures where sky beings deliver knowledge that transforms early societies. When we place these myths alongside the architectural and astronomical achievements of Egypt, the possibility emerges that they may be memories of real encounters, interpreted through the lens of spirituality. The Sphinx introduces even more uncertainty. Its body shows signs of erosion that some researchers argue was caused by heavy rainfall. Egypt experienced such rainfall long before the accepted timeline for the Sphinx construction. If the erosion evidence is accurate, the monument could be far older than mainstream estimates. This would require a civilization with advanced abilities to have existed in Egypt long before the pharaohs. Such a civilization is not supported by the archaeological record, yet the Sphinx stands as a silent witness, suggesting that something is missing from the accepted story. Other structures across Egypt also show signs of advanced planning. Many temples align with solstices and equinoxes in ways that indicate long-term astronomical observations. To create such alignments, Builders would need to track the movement of celestial bodies over generations. This dedication implies that their sky-watching had immense importance. Whether for religious purposes or for some deeper understanding, their connection to the stars was profound. At this stage of our exploration, a pattern begins to form. Göbekli Tepe, the Great Pyramid, and other ancient sites share a common message. Architecture and astronomy are intertwined in a way that suggests communication rather than coincidence. These monuments may be records of something humanity once knew but has since forgotten. They may be attempts to preserve knowledge that was given rather than invented. Knowledge that arrived unexpectedly and elevated early civilizations far beyond the capabilities of their time. As we leave Egypt behind, our next destination lies thousands of miles away across the Atlantic Ocean. There, on the high desert plains of Peru, another ancient mystery stretches across the landscape. The Nazca Lines form one of the most enigmatic symbols of human creativity. They invite questions about purpose and perspective. They challenge our understanding of what ancient people could accomplish. And like the sites before them, they draw our eyes once again toward the sky. The journey now brings us to the vast desert plains of southern Peru, where the Nazca Lines stretch across the ground like messages meant to be seen from the heavens. These enormous geoglyphs form one of the most puzzling chapters of the ancient world. They are etched into the earth with astonishing precision and scale. Some span hundreds of feet, others stretch in straight lines for miles. Their clarity has survived centuries of wind and sunlight, thanks to the stability of the desert climate. What is most striking, however, is that these figures make the most sense only from high above. From the ground, they appear as shallow grooves in the soil. From the sky, they form animals, geometric patterns and pathways that seem designed for an audience not bound to the earth. The Nazca people created these lines between roughly 500 BCE and 500 CE, according to mainstream estimates. They had no known writing system and no machines capable of flight. Yet they produced designs that would challenge even modern aerial surveyors. Many theories attempt to explain their purpose. Some scholars propose ritual pathways. Others suggest astronomical calendars or water-related ceremonies. Yet none of these explanations fully accounts for the sheer scale and precision of the lines. The idea that the Nazca intended their creations to be viewed from above introduces a startling possibility. Perhaps these drawings were offerings or signals meant for beings they believed existed in the sky. Among the most iconic geoglyphs is the hummingbird. Its wings stretch outward in perfect symmetry. The tail feathers are aligned with mathematical regularity. The same precision appears in the monkey, the spider, and the condor. Each figure displays proportions that suggest deliberate calculation. These drawings required planning on a scale that would have challenged any ancient society. The builders needed to map vast areas of land with accuracy while maintaining consistent dimensions from end to end. This level of coordination implies a sophisticated understanding of surveying and geometry. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Nazca Lines is the presence of enormous straight paths that run across the desert. Some intersect at sharp angles. Others travel in long, uninterrupted stretches. These paths have no obvious destination. They do not lead to towns or water sources. They appear more like runways than roads. Some researchers have suggested that the lines were used in ritual processions. Others propose that they represent alignments with celestial bodies. Yet their straightness and vast length continue to raise questions about whether the Nazca were attempting to create markers visible from the sky. The idea of signaling to the heavens may seem speculative. However, it fits within a broader pattern found across ancient cultures. Many early civilizations built structures that aligned with celestial events or pointed toward specific constellations. The Nazca lines extend this pattern into an entirely different medium. Instead of building upward, they carved their messages into the earth. Instead of constructing monuments, they removed the dark topsoil to reveal lighter sediment beneath. The result was a landscape transformed into a canvas with images visible only from high altitude. This choice suggests an awareness that the sky was not just a realm of gods, but a place connected to their daily lives. The tools required to create the lines appear simple. Wooden stakes and ropes found at the site show that the Nazca may have used basic surveying methods. Yet this simplicity does not diminish the complexity of the final product. The accuracy with which the lines maintain their course across uneven terrain suggests extensive knowledge of land measurement. It also suggests coordinated labor carried out over many generations. The Nazca people devoted immense energy to a project that brought them no obvious material benefit. This devotion hints at a purpose deeply rooted in belief rather than utility. Mythology of Andean cultures offers additional insight. Many legends speak of beings descending from the sky to teach agriculture, astronomy, and social order. These beings are often described as luminous or winged. Some stories refer to them as ancestors who returned periodically to check on human progress. If the Nazca inherited these traditions, they may have used the lines to honor these visitors or to communicate with them. The figures carved into the desert could represent symbols recognizable to these sky beings. The long, straight paths might have served as guides or markers indicating safe descent. Another fascinating clue lies in the arrangement of some geoglyphs. Certain lines align with the rising or setting of the sun during solstices. Others point toward specific stars or constellations. These intentional orientations place the Nazca within the same astronomical tradition seen at Göbekli Tepe and Egypt. They suggest a shared belief that the sky held vital knowledge. Whether this knowledge was purely religious or based on direct encounters with celestial visitors remains one of the enduring questions. The durability of the Nazca lines gives them a timeless quality. They have survived for centuries with minimal erosion. This means that whatever message the Nazca intended was crafted for longevity. It was meant to endure. It was meant to be seen, not just by their generation, but by countless generations to come. This desire for permanence mirrors the motivations behind the pyramids and other ancient monuments. It reflects a longing to preserve truth across time. As we prepare to leave the Nazca Desert, we carry with us another piece of the global puzzle. Across continents, ancient people created vast works that turned their gaze toward the sky. None of these civilizations knew the others, yet they shared the same fascination with the heavens and the same sudden leaps in knowledge. When patterns appear across cultures separated by oceans and millennia, we must ask whether a common source influenced them. Our next step takes us northward into the heart of Mesoamerica, where new clues await. The Olmec, Maya, and other ancient societies left behind monuments and myths that echo the same themes of celestial guidance and mysterious knowledge. As our journey continues, we move north through the ancient landscapes of Mesoamerica, where a series of powerful civilizations rose and fell long before European contact. These cultures left behind structures, artifacts, and mythologies that deepen the global pattern we have seen from Turkey, Egypt, and Peru. They too looked to the sky for guidance. They too built monuments aligned with celestial cycles. And they too told origin stories involving beings who descended from above to teach knowledge that transformed humanity. In these lands, the echoes of the ancient world speak with remarkable clarity, and they invite us to examine whether the same mysterious influence may have shaped civilizations separated by vast distances. Our first stop is among the Olmec, a culture often regarded as the mother civilization of Mesoamerica. They emerged suddenly with complex art, monumental architecture, and sophisticated astronomy. Their colossal stone heads are carved with remarkable precision, and each weighs many tons. These sculptures remain among the largest single stoneworks in the ancient Americas. Their features do not resemble the typical facial structures of the region, which has led to countless theories regarding their origin. Scholars debate whether the heads represent rulers, warriors, or mythological figures. Yet the detail in their helmets and their serene expressions hint at something deeper. Some researchers propose that these heads may represent figures who brought knowledge to the Olmec, figures who were seen not as conquerors, but as instructors. The Olmec also developed one of the earliest known calendars and displayed an advanced understanding of astronomy. Their ceremonial centers were aligned with solar and lunar movements. Such accomplishments do not match a civilization that was supposedly in its early stages. Instead, they suggest inherited knowledge. This raises the question of where such knowledge came from, if not from generations of gradual development. Their myths speak of beings who descended from the sky in the distant past and taught them how to live in harmony with the heavens. These stories mirror traditions found in cultures thousands of miles away and offer another piece of the global puzzle. Traveling east, we encounter the Maya, a civilization renowned for its achievements in mathematics, writing, and astronomy. Their cities rose from dense jungles with pyramids, observatories, and palaces that remain architectural marvels. The Maya tracked celestial cycles with extraordinary precision. They calculated the movements of planets, including Venus, with accuracy that rivals modern instruments. Their long count calendar recorded time on scales spanning thousands of years. Such commitment to cosmic measurement suggests a worldview deeply shaped by the heavens. According to their beliefs, the cosmos was not merely a realm of stars, but an active force influencing human events. Their gods traveled between the sky and the earth. Their kings claimed descent from beings who came from celestial realms. One of the most striking structures in the Maya world is the Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. This monument is aligned so precisely with the solar year that during the equinox, a serpent-shaped shadow descends the steps as the sun sets. This phenomenon required careful observation and calculation over many generations. The Maya built the pyramid with an accuracy that challenges even modern architects. Every stone was placed with knowledge of its role in creating this celestial spectacle. Such precision implies that the Maya did not simply observe the sky, they sought to communicate with it. They believed the gods responded through patterns of light and shadow, and they built their cities to reflect these cosmic dialogues. The Maya also left behind extensive inscriptions describing interactions between their rulers and sky beings. Some glyphs depict events interpreted as arrivals from above. These accounts are often described in symbolic terms, but the consistency of the imagery suggests that the Maya may have been preserving memories of encounters with entities they considered divine. The presence of advanced astronomy, sudden cultural development, and myths of otherworldly teachers creates a familiar pattern. It resembles the stories we encountered in Egypt, in Göbekli Tepe, and in the sacred desert of Nazca. As we continue deeper into Mesoamerica, we reach Teotihuacan, one of the largest ancient cities in the Americas. Its origins remain mysterious. No one knows who built it. By the time the Aztecs discovered it, the city was already abandoned, and they believed it had been constructed by gods. The layout of Teotihuacan is based on precise geometric and astronomical principles. The Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon align with celestial events in ways that suggest deliberate cosmic planning. The entire city follows a grid system uncommon in early civilizations. This level of organization suggests advanced knowledge of engineering and mathematics. The Pyramid of the Sun is built over a natural cave that some believe was considered a portal to the underworld, or a sacred entrance to the land of the gods. The structure itself contains layers of stone and rubble arranged with remarkable stability. Some researchers have noted the presence of materials that may have been chosen for their conductive properties. While such interpretations remain controversial, the overall sophistication of Teotihuacan still defies easy explanation. The city seems designed not only for human activity, but for ceremonial interactions with the cosmos. The murals discovered in Teotihuacan depict feathered serpents and celestial beings. These figures are represented descending from the sky, carrying objects that resemble tools or devices of power. The symbolism is undeniable. The people of Teotihuacan saw the sky as the source of authority, knowledge, and creation. Their art and architecture reflect a relationship with the heavens that was central to their identity. This again mirrors global traditions, suggesting that ancient civilizations may have experienced similar influences regardless of their location. When we reach the Aztec civilization, we find that they inherited many beliefs from earlier cultures. They spoke of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god who arrived from the sky and taught humanity agriculture, science, and social order. According to Aztec legends, he was a peaceful bringer of knowledge who came from a distant place beyond the earth. His story parallels myths from Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Andes, where sky beings descend to uplift humanity. Such legends often have shared themes, including advanced knowledge, moral instruction, and the promise of return. These consistencies raise important questions. Did these civilizations simply create similar myths through coincidence, or were they referencing memories of real encounters interpreted through cultural lenses? As we gather these threads from the Olmec, the Maya, Teotihuacan, and the Aztecs, a unified pattern emerges. These societies did not simply observe the stars. They built entire civilizations around celestial alignments. They rose suddenly with advanced knowledge that seemed beyond the abilities of early societies. They recorded interactions with beings who came from above. When this pattern appears across continents separated by oceans, the coincidence becomes harder to accept. The possibility of a shared influence becomes more compelling. Whether this influence came from unknown ancient cultures or from visitors beyond our world remains one of the greatest mysteries of human history. Our next destination takes us even farther across the landscape of ancient enigmas. We will look at the vast region of the Pacific, where another group of civilizations emerged in isolation, yet displayed knowledge and achievements that mirror those found across the world. From Easter Island to Polynesia, the pattern continues, and the mystery deepens. Our journey now carries us across the vast Pacific Ocean, where an enormous cultural network once stretched across thousands of miles of open water. Here, the ancient Polynesian world emerged as one of humanity's greatest navigational civilizations. Long before modern instruments existed, these seafaring people explored distances that would challenge even contemporary sailors. Their achievements in navigation, astronomy, and monument building raise profound questions about where their knowledge originated. In this remote region, far removed from the centers of Egypt, Mesopotamia, or Mesoamerica, we find yet another pattern that echoes everything we have seen so far. The inhabitants of these islands looked to the sky as both guide and guardian. Their traditions speak of gods or ancestors who descended from the heavens to teach humanity the mysteries of the ocean and the stars. One of the most enigmatic places in the Pacific is Easter Island, known to its inhabitants as Rapa Nui. This remote island is home to the moai, massive stone statues that stare endlessly toward the horizon. These monumental figures weigh many tons and were carved from hard volcanic rock using techniques that remain difficult to fully explain. The people of Rapa Nui transported them across miles of rugged terrain and raised them onto stone platforms with impressive precision. Each moai carries a distinct expression, and many feature tall red stone hats placed on top of their heads. These hats, called pukao, weigh several tons by themselves. The effort involved in lifting such heavy stones onto the moai suggests a knowledge of balance and engineering that goes far beyond what was expected of a small, isolated population. The purpose of the moai has been widely debated. Some believe they represent ancestors who watched over the island. Others suggest they served as guardians or spiritual intermediaries. Yet the sheer scale and number of these statues suggests something more profound than simple tribute. There are nearly 900 moai carved and positioned across the island. The construction of these statues would have required an extraordinary number of laborers and resources. For such an effort to make sense, the people must have believed that the moai served a purpose essential to their survival or identity. Polynesian traditions shed further light on this mystery. Many stories describe sky beings or luminous ancestors arriving from above, bringing wisdom and tools. In some accounts, these visitors traveled in vehicles that shone like stars. They taught navigation, agriculture, and social order. They departed, promising to return when needed. These stories are preserved orally rather than in written form, yet they carry remarkable consistency across distant islands separated by thousands of miles. This suggests that such stories may have originated from real encounters, interpreted through cultural lenses. What makes these myths even more intriguing is the advanced nature of Polynesian navigation. Ancient navigators memorized the rising and setting positions of hundreds of stars. They understood ocean swells, wind patterns, and the movement of birds with extraordinary precision. They navigated the world's largest ocean using techniques that modern sailors would struggle to replicate without instruments. The Polynesians possessed a mental map of the Pacific so vast and so accurate that it allowed them to travel between islands separated by hundreds of miles with unerring accuracy. Their knowledge of the stars was not merely observational. It was integrated into a system of long-distance navigation that modern scientists still study with admiration. This deep connection to the sky echoes the themes found in Egypt, Maya territories, and the ancient Near East. In every region we have explored, ancient societies lifted their eyes to the heavens for guidance. They built monuments that aligned with celestial bodies. They spoke of beings descending from the stars. The Polynesians fit this pattern perfectly, despite their isolation from the great continental civilizations. Easter Island itself carries clues that connect it to this global pattern. Some researchers have noted the presence of astronomical alignments in the placement of moai and their platforms called ahu. Certain statues face sunrise during solstices or align with specific stars associated with navigation. The island may have functioned as a ceremonial center dedicated to celestial observation. If this is true, then the moai were not simply statues, but markers in a system that connected the people of Rapa Nui to the cosmos. Another mystery of Easter Island lies in the script called Rongo Rongo. This system of glyphs carved into wooden tablets remains undeciphered. It is unique among Polynesian cultures, which typically transmitted knowledge orally rather than through written form. The presence of Rongo Rongo suggests that Rapa Nui may have once possessed a form of writing or symbolic record-keeping, influenced by external contact or internal innovation. Some glyphs resemble figures associated with stars or celestial events. If the script indeed records astronomical knowledge, then it may link Rapa Nui more closely to the global pattern of sky-oriented civilizations. Moving beyond Easter Island, we find similar mysteries throughout Polynesia. In the Hawaiian Islands, enormous heiau temples were constructed using massive stone blocks. These structures often align with solar events, such as solstices and equinoxes. Their precise alignments required generations of skywatching and careful recording of celestial cycles. Hawaiian chants describe deities who traveled between the heavens and the earth. Some are portrayed as brilliant beings who brought knowledge to humankind. These stories again mirror global myths of sky visitors. In the small island of Raiatea in French Polynesia stands Tapu Tapuatea. one of the most important sacred sites in Polynesian culture. This ceremonial center served as a gathering place for navigators and priests who studied stars and ocean currents. The site features stone platforms and structures aligned with celestial events. It acted as a hub of knowledge in a vast network of interlinked islands. The navigators who trained here embarked on voyages that reached as far as Hawaii and New Zealand. Their ability to cross such immense distances relies heavily on understanding the stars. Tapu Tapu Atea, therefore, can be seen as both a temple and an ancient observatory. The legends associated with this site describe gods who arrived from the sky and taught the first navigators how to traverse the ocean. According to some traditions, these beings gave sacred knowledge and instructed priests in rituals that ensured safe voyaging. Even though these accounts use symbolic language, the recurring theme of heavenly teachers is unmistakable. In the southern Pacific, the Maori of New Zealand carry their own traditions about beings who descended from celestial realms. One story speaks of a luminous figure who taught the ancestors how to understand the movement of stars and the secrets of the natural world. These stories may be symbolic or allegorical, yet their consistency with myths across the globe raises important questions. How did isolated cultures develop such similar themes? How did they gain advanced knowledge of navigation without external assistance? If their myths represent memories of contact with advanced visitors, then the Polynesian world becomes a key piece of the ancient alien puzzle. The impressive megalithic structures found on the island of Tonga further highlight this point. The Ha-Munga Amaui, a massive stone trilithon, resembles monuments found in distant parts of the world. Its lintel stone weighs many tons and was placed with remarkable precision. The purpose of this structure remains unclear. Some suggest it was used as a gateway. Others believe it served astronomical functions. Its existence challenges assumptions about Polynesian engineering. How did a culture with limited resources lift such a massive stone and balance it perfectly upon two supporting pillars? If similar monuments around the world are linked to celestial observation or contact with advanced beings, then Hamunga, a Maui, may belong to the same category. As we gather these threads from across the Pacific, the pattern becomes undeniable. Once again, we encounter isolated societies displaying advanced knowledge that appears suddenly rather than gradually. Once again, we find monuments aligned with the heavens. Once again, we find myths of sky beings who bring knowledge and depart promising to return. These parallels strengthen the possibility that ancient civilizations across the globe may share a common source of inspiration. Whether this source was a lost advanced culture or visitors from beyond our world remains the central question. We now stand at the edge of a global mosaic. The clues from Turkey, Egypt, Mesoamerica, South America, and the Pacific form a network of patterns that challenge conventional narratives of human history. Yet our journey is not over. To complete this puzzle, we must examine the legends and structures of ancient cultures that do not fit neatly into any single category. We must explore the possibility of a forgotten chapter in human development that existed long before written history. This next step will bring us closer to confronting the question that has guided our journey from the beginning. Were ancient humans truly alone, or did they receive guidance from an intelligence far beyond Earth? As our journey continues across the ancient world, the clues that once felt scattered now begin to form a pattern so consistent that it challenges even the most cautious mind. By this point, we have examined monuments that defy primitive technology, myths that echo across continents, and symbols that appear in places separated by oceans and eras. Yet there is one more layer to uncover, a layer that does not sit in the stones or the geometry, but in the timeline itself. To understand the possibility of ancient contact, we must confront the unsettling idea that human civilization may be far older and far more interrupted than most textbooks allow. For centuries, archaeologists believed that organized societies began only after the last ice age, roughly 12,000 years ago. According to the traditional narrative, humans lived as small tribes until the climate stabilized, and only then developed agriculture, writing, and architecture. But throughout our investigation, anomalies have emerged that contradict this clean and convenient timeline. We saw how Göbekli Tepe rose suddenly with the precision of a mature civilization at a time when humans were supposedly still nomads. We saw how the pyramids reflect knowledge of stellar cycles that require thousands of years of observation. And we saw how the Nazca lines, the Sumerian texts, and the Andean legends all suggest a memory of teachers who arrived fully formed from somewhere beyond the ordinary world. Now, researchers around the world are gathering evidence that Earth itself has experienced repeated cycles of destruction and rebirth. These cycles may have erased earlier civilizations that once reached heights equal to or even greater than our own. Geological studies show traces of sudden floods and rapid climate shifts. Genetic research suggests bottlenecks in human populations at times when global catastrophes may have occurred, and oral traditions from nearly every continent tell stories of a time before time, when the world was remade after a great disaster. Some call it myth. Others believe it is a forgotten chapter of our past. If a civilization existed before the last ice age, its remains would be buried under oceans, glaciers, or thousands of years of sediment. Only fragments would survive. Yet the fragments we do find display craftsmanship, mathematics, and astronomical alignment too advanced for the hunter-gatherers we once assumed our ancestors were. Could it be that these structures were not the beginning of humanity's architectural journey, but the final echoes of a civilization that survived a global catastrophe? And if so, who helped them rebuild? Who passed down the knowledge that reappears in Egypt, Mesopotamia, Central America, and Southeast Asia? Many ancient cultures describe a moment when the sky opened and beings they called gods descended to guide them through the darkness. These visitors taught agriculture, astronomy, and moral law, then departed, promising to return. In the context of our investigation, these stories may represent more than symbolism or spiritual allegory. They may describe real encounters with advanced travelers who arrived at a vulnerable moment in human history, when survivors were trying to rebuild the world they had lost. If such beings existed, they would have possessed technologies beyond our current imagination. They could lift stones weighing hundreds of tons, transport materials across vast distances, and map the heavens with perfect accuracy. They could share knowledge that allowed early societies to jump forward without the slow, gradual development we expect. And while their presence would have been extraordinary to ancient eyes, it might have been brief. Perhaps they visited only long enough to set humanity back on its path before leaving us to grow on our own. This theory raises a troubling question. If Earth has experienced cycles of destruction in the past, could it happen again? Could the visitors have understood these cycles and attempted to prepare humanity for future challenges? Their knowledge of astronomy suggests an awareness of long-term cosmic threats. Their sudden appearance after global disasters hints at intervention rather than coincidence. And the alignment of ancient monuments with certain constellations may be more than symbolic. They could be warnings, coded in stone, to remind us of dangers that return at intervals far longer than the span of human civilizations. Modern scientists have identified patterns in solar activity, asteroid trajectories, and planetary cycles that match ancient timelines with surprising accuracy. Some researchers believe ancient monuments encode information about precession, solar cycles, and cosmic threats that could affect Earth. If ancient visitors sought to protect a recovering civilization, they might have left clues designed to survive time itself. Clues carved into rock, encoded in myth, and aligned with the stars, where natural decay cannot erase them. As we approach the final part of our journey, the picture becomes both clearer and more mysterious. We have followed the trail across continents, through temples, and beneath layers of forgotten history. We have seen evidence that challenges conventional timelines and suggests a guiding intelligence behind humanity's earliest achievements. Yet one question now rises above all others. If such visitors truly came to Earth in the distant past, where are they now? And what message did they intend to leave behind for future generations? In the final chapter, we will try to answer these questions. We will bring together the patterns we have discovered and explore the possibility that these ancient visitors may not have vanished entirely. The final step will take us to the edge of history and beyond, as we ask whether humanity is nearing a moment that the ancients tried to prepare us for. Our journey is not finished. The deepest mystery waits just ahead. As we arrive at the final stage of our investigation, the weight of everything we have uncovered begins to settle into place. We have traveled through deserts and jungles, stepped into ruins older than recorded history, and followed a trail of anomalies that appear in every corner of the ancient world. At first, these clues seemed like isolated mysteries, each remarkable but disconnected. A pyramid aligned with Orion, a vast geoglyph carved into the earth, a temple buried intentionally, a myth that speaks of sky beings who came to teach humanity. Yet, the closer we looked, the more these fragments began to revolve around a common center. In this final chapter, we return to that center and ask what it means for us today. Throughout our journey, we have seen a consistent pattern of knowledge appearing suddenly rather than gradually. Civilizations that should have taken millennia to develop, architecture, mathematics, astronomy, and organized belief systems, seem to have acquired these tools within surprisingly short spans of time. The builders of Göbekli Tepe displayed an understanding of geometry and celestial observation far beyond what nomadic hunter-gatherers were believed capable of. The ancient Egyptians aligned their pyramids with star patterns that require thousands of years of careful measurement. The cultures of the Andes engineered terraces, water systems, and monumental structures with precision that rivals modern engineering. And the Nazca people created massive ground drawings visible only from the sky long before flight was even conceivable. If such knowledge emerged independently in one region, it might be seen as an extraordinary but natural leap. Yet the repetition of these leaps across continents suggests something else, something that moved from culture to culture, either through migration, shared memory, or direct instruction from a source outside the traditional human timeline. Myths from Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, Mesoamerica, and Oceania all describe the arrival of beings from the sky who carried advanced knowledge and guided early societies. These stories do not appear as vague metaphors. They present specific details about tools, measurements, astronomy, and civil law. They describe flying vessels, radiant beings, and teachers who promised to return. It is difficult to ignore how closely these accounts resemble each other, despite immense geographical separation. As we reflect on these similarities, it becomes necessary to consider what form these visitors might have taken if they were real. To ancient humans, any advanced technology would have appeared indistinguishable from magic. A craft descending from the sky would become a divine chariot. A powerful light would become a halo. A being wearing advanced protective gear might be interpreted as a god. These interpretations do not diminish the sincerity of the accounts. In fact, they highlight how early societies tried to describe something far beyond their understanding, using the language and symbols available to them. If advanced visitors did intervene at critical points in human development, we must ask why. One possibility is survival. If Earth experienced catastrophic cycles that disrupted earlier civilizations, then the sudden reappearance of advanced knowledge after each cycle may indicate intervention at moments when humanity was vulnerable. Perhaps these visitors acted as caretakers or observers, stepping in only when necessary to ensure that humanity retained a foundation upon which to rebuild. Another possibility is that Earth itself may hold unique value. Life on this planet is extraordinarily diverse and resilient. A species capable of moving between star systems might see emerging civilizations as part of a broader cosmic tapestry that deserves guidance rather than abandonment. Yet we must also consider a more challenging idea. What if humanity is not simply a passive recipient of knowledge, but an intended participant in a larger process? Many ancient texts suggest that humans were given responsibilities rather than gifts. They were taught how to cultivate land, measure time, read the heavens, and maintain social order. These skills are foundational for any stable civilization. If they were bestowed deliberately, it may mean that humanity was being prepared for future challenges or future contact. The monuments that align with celestial cycles could serve as reminders of long-term astronomical patterns that humanity must eventually understand. The myths that speak of returning teachers may be echoes of a promise rather than religious embellishment. As modern science advances, we begin to uncover evidence that aligns with these ancient teachings. Our understanding of the precession of the equinoxes, solar cycles, and cosmic radiation has grown dramatically. We have identified impact events and rapid climate shifts that match ancient accounts of global catastrophes. We have detected exoplanets that may harbor life and discovered that interstellar travel, once seen as impossible, may one day be within reach. Humanity stands at a moment where the boundaries between myth and science grow thinner with each discovery. With all this evidence before us, we return to the central question. Were our ancestors visited by advanced beings in the distant past? The answer remains uncertain, yet the consistency of the patterns, the precision of the monuments, and the universality of the myths compel us to take the possibility seriously. It is no longer a question relegated to fringe speculation. It has become a legitimate point of inquiry for archaeologists, historians, astronomers, and anthropologists. The past may not be as isolated from the future as we once assumed. Instead, it may serve as a guide, a warning, and a promise. The implications of ancient contact reach far beyond academic debate. They challenge our understanding of human identity. They force us to reconsider the nature of intelligence, curiosity, and resilience. They invite us to imagine a universe in which life is not rare, but interconnected. If humanity truly received guidance during its earliest chapters, then we must ask what our role might be now. Are we expected to reach a level of understanding that allows us to take our place among other civilizations? Are we expected to become stewards of our planet and its future? Or are we destined to repeat cycles of rise and collapse unless we learn the lessons encoded in stone and story? As we bring this long journey to a close, one truth stands out. The ancient world is speaking to us. Its monuments call across time. Its myths hold messages wrapped in symbolism. Its mysteries remind us that our story is far older and far more complex than we once believed. Whether or not ancient visitors walked among our ancestors, the evidence they left behind continues to shape our imagination and challenge our assumptions. The final question we must ask is not whether they came, but whether we are prepared for what the future may reveal. Humanity now stands at the threshold of discoveries that could surpass even the boldest myths of the past. The same sky that our ancestors gazed upon with wonder is the sky we now explore with telescopes and probes. The same stars that guided ancient builders continue to rotate above us with silent precision. The universe has always been watching. And perhaps, somewhere out there, the visitors of old are watching still. Whatever the truth may be, the search continues. And as long as the mysteries of the ancient world remain standing in stone and memory, the story is not finished. It lives on in every question we ask and every clue we uncover. Our journey ends here for now, but the path forward stretches far beyond the horizon, waiting for those who dare to follow it. If you have stayed with this story until the very end, then you are one of the few who still listens to the echoes of the past and dares to question what may lie beyond the limits of accepted history. The mysteries we explored tonight are not finished. They continue to challenge scholars, inspire researchers, and ignite the curiosity of anyone willing to look deeper into the ancient world. Here on Forbidden Lore, we will keep following these trails, uncovering forgotten civilizations, decoding ancient symbols, and exploring the hidden chapters that history books often overlook. If you want to join this journey and never miss the next discovery, make sure you subscribe to Forbidden Lore. Your support allows this channel to keep investigating the questions that others avoid. If you found value in this story, give the video a like and share it with someone who enjoys diving into the unknown. And if you want to help this community grow, turn on notifications so you will be here when the next chapter begins. Thank you for watching, for listening, and for keeping the spirit of curiosity alive. This is Forbidden Lore, and our exploration of the ancient world is only just beginning.